Welcome to DDReg Knowledge Capsule. Today, we're zeroing in on a truly vital topic, navigating China's pharmaceutical market. This isn't just about understanding a big market. It's about really mastering the details of getting new medications approved and launched, of course, in a landscape that's constantly evolving and, frankly, incredibly influential on global healthcare.
Precisely. Yeah, our objective with this session is really to give you a clear, actionable roadmap. We'll connect the critical points of China's drug approval process, helping you grasp not just the steps, but, the strategic significance behind each one for successful market entry.
Think of our source material today as your essential guide. It's packed with insights into a market that, well, it's undeniably competitive, but also offers just unparalleled opportunities for pharmaceutical innovation. We're here to ensure you're well equipped for what lies ahead. So let's start with a fact that really underscores this global shift. China's pharmaceutical market isn't just big anymore. It has become a genuine global powerhouse. What does this immense scale mean for global healthcare, and maybe more importantly for you if you're looking to operate in this space?
Well, the numbers truly paint a compelling picture of growth here. By 2024, China's pharmaceutical market surpassed an astounding USD 80 billion in revenue. That firmly cements its position as the second largest globally, right after the United States.
80 billion, wow.
Yeah. And if we look specifically at the manufacturing segment, it's projected to hit USD 183 billion by 2025. Now, this isn't just about impressive figures. It's fueled by two critical drivers: soaring domestic demand for high-quality healthcare and a deliberate, very strong focus on fostering innovation and local R&D.
Right, so it's internal demand plus a real push for innovation.
Exactly. For global pharma, missing out on China means missing a significant portion of future growth and future innovation potential.
Those numbers are staggering. It really highlights the sheer ambition we're talking about. So, given such a massive and ambitious market, what types of drugs are actually making their way through the approval process? Okay, let's unpack this. Are we seeing purely cutting-edge therapies, or is there a broader, more diverse mix? I'm curious about the specific landscape of what's gaining traction there.
It's definitely a diverse mix, covering three key categories. First, you have innovative medications. These are truly, at the scientific frontier, everything from sophisticated biopharmaceuticals and advanced gene and cell therapies to vital treatments for rare diseases, leveraging the latest in immunology, genetics, biotechnology.
Your really high-tech stuff.
Precisely. Then, a cornerstone of the market are generic drugs. These play a dominant role simply due to the ongoing demand for affordable alternatives. And here's a crucial point. China supplies roughly 40% of the world's active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs.
40%.
40%. The core components of basically any drug.
40% of the world's APIs, that's an enormous contribution and certainly reflects China's critical role in the global pharmaceutical supply chain.
Absolutely. And the third category, which is deeply ingrained in Chinese healthcare, are Chinese holistic health products, commonly known as traditional Chinese medicines, or TCM. Valued at over USD 50 billion, these encompass herbal, mineral, and animal-derived formulations. And we're also seeing their global recognition growing, representing a unique blend of, well, ancient practice and modern wellness demand.
Okay, so a really broad spectrum. You've got the cutting edge, the essential generics, and the traditional medicines. With such a vital range entering this market, understanding the regulatory landscape becomes absolutely paramount. Who are the primary gatekeepers? Who sets the rules and ultimately decides what gets approved?
You've hit on a crucial point, because navigating this market really hinges on understanding its regulatory architecture. There are two main authorities shaping the Chinese pharmaceutical space. First, there's the National Medical Products Administration, or NMPA. This is China's overarching regulatory body. They're responsible for approving medications, medical devices, cosmetics, and ensuring their quality, safety, and effectiveness. They set the broad standards.
So the NMPA is the big picture regulator, kind of the top level.
Exactly. Then, working within the NMPA, we have the Center for Drug Evaluation, or CDE. The CDE is specifically tasked with reviewing the drug clinical trial applications, the marketing authorization applications, supplemental approvals, re-registrations. They handle the detailed scientific assessment of each submission.
Right, so they're the ones really digging into the data for each specific drug.
That's right. And one crucial framework that assigns clear accountability throughout the drug's journey is the Marketing Authorization Holder, or MAH, system. This system makes the approval holder, whether they're a domestic or a foreign entity, responsible for the entire life cycle of the drug, from manufacturing all the way through post-market surveillance.
The whole thing,
Yeah.
start to finish and beyond.
The whole thing.
Uh,
A really comprehensive approach to accountability.
that system sounds like it truly consolidates responsibility. Okay, now you mentioned that China's drug approval process has aligned more closely with global standards recently, which is obviously significant for international innovators. Could you walk us through that step-by-step odyssey? From a drug's initial research phase to its eventual market launch in China, how does that journey actually unfold? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Indeed, the journey has become notably more streamlined and internationally harmonized. It all begins naturally with preclinical research. This is where initial safety and efficacy are evaluated through pharmacological and toxicological testing, all done strictly adhering to good laboratory practice, or GLP standards.
GLP, right, the basic lab quality standards.
Exactly, the globally recognized quality system for non-clinical lab studies. Once that early work looks promising, the next step is submitting a clinical trial application, or CTA, to the NMPA. This is for authorization to begin human trials.
Okay, the CTA submission, and what's the typical timeline for that initial review? Is it lengthy?
Well, the CDE reviews the CTA dossier within 60 working days. And a notable efficiency here is that if no objections are raised during that period, the application is automatically accepted.
60 days and silence means yes. It's quite efficient.
It is. China also actively supports multi-regional clinical trials, MRCTs, and can even accept foreign clinical data, provided it meets their stringent ethical and regulatory standards. With that CTA approval in hand, we move into the clinical trials themselves, conducted in 3 phases under Good Clinical Practice, or GCP, standards.
GCP, the global benchmark for the actual human trials.
Right.
So these clinical trials, phase 1, 2, 3, are they structured pretty similarly to what we see in, say, the US or Europe?
They are, yes, following the familiar pattern. Phase I involves a small group of healthy volunteers. You're looking at initial dosage and assessing safety. Phase 2 expands to a broader patient population to evaluate efficacy and closely monitor for side effects. And then Phase 3 comprises large-scale comparative trials, often comparing the new drug to existing therapies and tracking longer-term outcomes.
Makes sense. Standard progression.
Right. The comprehensive results from all these phases are then compiled and submitted to the NMPA as part of a new drug application, or NDA. That's the formal request for market authorization after successful trials.
Okay, the big NDA package. And then comes the rigorous NMPA review itself, I assume.
Exactly. The NMPA review process is multifaceted. It includes a thorough technical review of all the trial data, verification of good manufacturing practice, or GMP, compliance for production.
GMP, so ensuring the manufacturing is up to scratch.
Precisely. This is often followed by an on-site inspection of the manufacturing facilities and the clinical trial sites. Finally, there's an independent expert review by specialists who evaluate the drug's overall safety, efficacy, and quality.
A lot of checks and balances there.
Definitely. But the journey doesn't quite end with approval. A crucial post-marketing surveillance stage requires continuous monitoring for adverse events and the submission of periodic safety reports. It ensures ongoing patient safety long after the drug hits the market.
That's a comprehensive and clearly rigorous path. But beyond this, let's call it the standard approval route. Are there any faster lanes for specific types of drugs? Maybe urgent needs? And just as importantly, where do companies typically hit a snag? What are the common roadblocks that even these streamlined processes might not fully address?
That's a perceptive question, because China has indeed developed several pathways to try and expedite access to crucial medicines. Besides the standard approval process for most new drugs, there's a priority review pathway. This is for drugs treating serious or life-threatening illnesses, aiming to accelerate their availability.
Okay, so a fast track for serious conditions.
Right. Then we have the conditional approval pathway. This is designed for drugs addressing major unmet medical needs, allowing earlier access but under specific defined conditions, often requiring more data later. For therapies showing really promising early clinical advantages, there's the breakthrough therapy designation. And finally, in public health emergencies, a special approval pathway can be activated for urgently needed drugs. Think pandemics, for instance.
That's a good range of options. Seems like it offers some needed flexibility. But let's be realistic. Where do companies really struggle? Are there common pitfalls even with these new pathways available?
That's a critical consideration for any strategic planning, absolutely. Despite these expedited routes, common limitations still arise. The regulatory framework itself, while improving, remains highly complex and dynamic. It requires continuous engagement and adaptation from companies. It's not static.
Always changing, yeah.
Then there's also the challenge of review backlogs, simply due to the immense volume of new drug applications being submitted. There's just a lot going through the system. And a significant hurdle, particularly for international companies, is the frequent requirement for clinical trials to be conducted partly or, in some cases, fully within China.
Ah, the local trial requirement. That must add complexity.
It does. It adds layers of logistical, financial, and certainly time-related complexity to the whole process.
So, China isn't static. It's clearly modernizing its regulatory landscape, trying to address some of these challenges. What significant NMPA reforms have been introduced recently, and maybe more importantly, what does this all mean for innovators, both domestic and international, looking to enter or expand in this market?
Yeah, a key takeaway here is that China's NMPA has been very proactive, actually. They've introduced significant reforms specifically aimed at boosting efficiency, enhancing data protection, and speeding up access to novel medications. The tangible impact of these changes is quite remarkable in some areas. For instance, faster review times are a big win. Clinical trial applications for drugs addressing urgent needs have seen their review period cut from 60 down to just 30 working days.
Half of the time, that's significant.
It's huge. And priority reviews are now routinely granted to critical therapies like cell and gene therapies, combination vaccines, and treatments for rare diseases.
That's a massive time saving, potentially getting vital treatments to patients months earlier than before.
Exactly. It dramatically accelerates the potential for patient access. There's also been a strong focus on regulatory data protection. They're offering data exclusivity of 3 to 6 years for innovative and generic drugs, up to 7 years for orphan drugs, and even additional protection for pediatric drugs.
Which provides crucial incentives for that continued R&D investment, right?
Absolutely. Protects the innovation. Furthermore, China is actively pursuing international harmonization. The NMPA has adopted many ICH guidelines.
ICH, that's the International Council for Harmonization.
Correct. They aim to standardize pharmaceutical regulations globally. Adopting these makes it much easier for companies to conduct multi-regional trials and significantly facilitates the acceptance of foreign data by the NMPA.
So it's becoming much easier for data from trials conducted, say, in Europe or the US to be considered valid in China. That sounds like a real game changer for global companies.
Precisely. It truly aligns China much more closely with global best practices. The NMPA is also increasingly accepting real-world evidence, or RWE.
RWE, like data from actual hospital use.
Exactly. From sources like hospitals and patient registries to support approvals, recognizing its practical value alongside traditional trial data. And on the operational side, we're seeing the rollout of digital submissions through ECTD, that's the Electronic Common Technical Document Format. Makes applications much more streamlined. Plus, there's encouragement for adaptive trial designs, particularly in complex areas like oncology and rare disease research. These allow for more flexibility during the trial itself.
Wow. So faster reviews, data protection, more global alignment, accepting real-world data, digital processes. These are all really significant steps toward a more modern, efficient, and globally integrated regulatory system.
They really are. It signals a clear direction.
What an insightful exploration of China's pharmaceutical landscape. It's abundantly clear that China's pharmaceutical framework isn't just expanding at an incredible rate, but it's also evolving rapidly. It's becoming more efficient and increasingly aligned with global standards. It's truly a market in constant dynamic motion.
It is, and the message here is really undeniable. There are substantial opportunities opening up for both domestic and international manufacturers. The escalating demand for novel treatments, combined with these modernized regulations, cultivates a truly compelling environment for innovation and strategic market entry.
So as we conclude our discussion today, here's maybe a thought to ponder for everyone listening. Considering these ongoing reforms and the likely future emphasis on areas like AI, big data, and real-world evidence in drug regulations, how will this fundamental shift in China fundamentally reshape global pharmaceutical innovation and patient access in the coming years? What role will these technological advancements play in future drug approvals, not just in China, but truly worldwide? It's a question that extends far beyond China's borders, speaking, I think, to the very future of medicine itself.